right, everyone, hello and welcome back to the Nut. Oh wait, that's not what we're doing here. Engineer, let's tell the people what we're doing here on this fine evening today.
Well, I've been told that you're here for me.
That is true. We are here for the Engineer. Welcome back to another video in the interview series. Today I have our lovely NU icon Engineer in the call with me. Shen, how are we doing?
Pretty good. And icon, that's pretty high praise. Thank you.
I mean, I would say so. You know, you've done a lot of things in NU, from the Goofy tour, being one of the architects of that, to just kind of, you know, playing all sorts of NU tiers under the sun. You know, GSC, ADV, SV. You do a lot of stuff. Yeah. I mean, listen, that's still a lot of things. That's still a lot of tiers. I would say icon is probably appropriate at this point. But yeah, we're here to do a little interviewing, and thank you as well for taking the time out of your day to be able to, you know, kind of sit down and give us some of your time. Yeah, thank you.
Of course. I mean, when you guys are paying me like $60 an hour, I'll
hey, don't tell them that. Don't tell them that. They're not supposed to know about that. They're not supposed to know about that. Hey, no. Listen, for legal purposes, we got no funding. No one's making any money. Yep.
That's definitely not what all the ad revenue is going to. That's a joke because I don't think we get ad revenue.
No, we do not. Wish we did,
though. Folks. Remember to spread the good word of the nut. Get a subscriber.
Exactly.
And we
make sure to like.
Ad money.
Make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Just because you're cool and awesome. We've got a cool and awesome guy in Shen here sitting down for this interview. Speaking of which, let's jump right into it. Shen, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember this. The first time that I kind of saw your name in a tournament of any capacity was BLT a couple of years ago, actually. I think it was BLT 2024. That was the first time I had kind of heard of you, seen you playing the tour. I was wondering, could you tell us kind of what your first experience with like NU and NU team tours kind of was? Yeah, what was that like, being new guy Shen on the block?
So the story all goes back to, I guess, my history as a Mons player in general. We'll start there. Was just, you know, I played the games on the DS. I think my first game was Diamond, and then I played up through like Black 2, and then that was the last Pokemon game that I played on hardware. But I found Pokemon Showdown, and I'm like, wait, you mean I can just battle without having to train anything? This is sick. Because I mean, that's really what it was all about, was good battling. So I fell in love with that. And that was about 10 years ago at this point.
Damn.
Yeah, but I guess you could say I took a break. That was for the entirety, basically, of Gens 7 and 8. You know, I didn't interact with Pokemon at all. But then when SV rolled around, you know, I got that itch, you know. So I came back and tried out SVOU. I'm like, you know, the Skeletor's guy is cool. Rain is fun, so I played a bunch of Rain. And then once again I took a break. And then I was like, how's my Rain team doing? I had a Floatzel on it, and at that point Floatzel had dropped to NU, and I'm like, whoa, I remember this was really good in OU. Surely Rain must be broken in NU. So I tried out NU Rain. That was my first exposure to NU. And the rest is history. Spoiler, I don't think it was that good, but I found out what was good in the tier, and I just decided to, you know, master that one tier, try something different.
Okay, yeah, hey, that's interesting. Floatzel of all Mons being your gateway into NU is not something that I would have expected. I think
it's not even like one of my favorites. I just enjoyed Rain at the time, so
you just happen to be a guy on your favorite archetype. That's crazy, you know.
And then as far as tournaments goes, you know, I was pretty much a Showdown only gamer, but I started interacting more on the forum side of things. And then, yeah, I was just really active in Discord and in the PS room, and, you know, just spamming questions about the game. I had that hunger to master it and get better, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people seeing that drive, they're like, hey, let's put this kid in a tournament. And so I was the first overall pick of NUCL back in the like a couple of years ago. Nominated by Ravia. Thank you, Ravia. But it was Keo that ended up bidding on me. So, and I got to play a total of 1 game, but I believe I won. So that was the start of my competitive career right there.
Positive
And
on
then,
the
like,
sheet. Listen, one better than 01. That's all I'm saying.
yep.
That's all I'm saying.
And then I switched to, like you said, BLT was coming out, so I farmed Tours Room. I think I qualified off of NU games alone, which was funny. Yeah. And I think I did pretty well in that tour. And I've just had this constant, drive to perfect my craft and get better.
And then, like you said, the rest was history. You just kept going with it. Speaking of which, very recently, actually, like we kind of mentioned actually earlier, we're recently coming off an NU tour, NUCL,
yes.
number 3, I believe at this point.
I believe it's the 3rd one, yes.
NUCL 3, where you were actually a manager with kind of another staple of the NU community, Lucas. So correct me if I'm wrong, but this is your 2nd time managing, right?
It is my 3rd, actually. So
3rd time, okay.
Back 2 NUCLs ago, I managed the Flamigo Amigos with Bernardo.
Right,
that was my first time managing. That was a good experience. And then I stayed partnered up with Bernardo for NUPL. We were the Dubious Ducks. And despite being ranked last in the power rankings, we made it all the way to finals tiebreak, where we unfortunately lost. But honestly, we shouldn't have even gone to tiebreak. We should have won the week, but I had the greatest loss of my Mons career by loading Probopass terrain and absolutely tossing a game that Dugzo will never let me live down, and he's got a good reason. That was generational fumble.
Hey, you know what? Shout out to Dugzo. Shenj knows that Probopass terrain is no longer the moves now. But okay, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. 3 times as manager, and I've done pretty well across all those stints, right? So I remember you mentioned the first
pretty well if you ignore the performance of the Real Steel. We may have ended up like 7th or 8th, but
we don't have to talk. We'll touch upon that, but
yeah.
I think we were, because I was on that same team with you, the Flamigo Amigos, when you were managing that, right? So that's a playoff berth. You just mentioned in NUPL, you and Bernardo made it to finals. So what's that kind of been like, the difference, I guess, between being a player and a manager, and then also, making deep runs, making playoffs, going to finals? Yeah, what's kind of been your experience with all of that?
Yeah, like you said, I've made some deep runs. My first individual tour win, I think, was the NU seasonal back, I think it was a year ago now. Yeah, so that was nice to finally get a win under my belt. And then transitioning from player to manager was slow at first, mostly just due to my own knowledge on tiers. Right, originally when I was playing, like I said, I was just focused on SVNU. That's my 1 tier. And when I managed with Bernardo, I didn't really know other tiers to any level of depth, so I didn't feel very good at supporting them, which I think is okay, but you need to be able to find support for your players if you're not able to do it yourself. But by the time this recent NUCL rolled around and I was managing with Lucas, I was very experienced in both Gens 2 and 3, so I was able to support outside of just 1 gen, which is kind of key to being a manager. When you can support as many slots as possible just from the manager position, that would be ideal, I would say.
Absolutely, self-sufficiency, name of the game.
Yeah, that, and like I said, self-sufficiency, I think more of just like drafting players that actively can build and test and pilot in their own respective tiers. I would say Turt Dog was a good example of that for us. He loves SSNU. He builds his own teams and plays them well. And I think if you're unable to feed teams to a clicker, I think drafting someone like that is your best bet for most slots.
Sick. I'd love to hear it. And let's talk a little bit more about kind of your own personal branching out. So you mentioned earlier how not only did you maybe start out with SVNU, you kind of more recently been making some progress into ADV and then also GSC. So kind of how was it that you found yourself getting your feet wet in some of those old gens?
Yeah, I mean, the additional exposure to those is from NU team tournaments. I mean, that's probably pretty apparent.
Yeah,
both NUCL and NUPL, like giving that exposure to those old gens of NU. And it was really just like, wanting something different. And so the more modern gens of Pokemon, like I would say 5 or 6 through 8, they weren't like different enough for me, so I wanted to go like old school. And ADV, like a pretty popular generation in general, it's got a lot of charm. So I think that's where I started, with ADV NU. And back in the old Glalie days when we still had that menace.
Absolutely.
I don't know, and I found the tier really fun. I kind of had this picture of myself as someone who would go back into these old meta games and breathe new life and innovation into them. But honestly, like the people who are already there playing are doing the same thing. Like all these, I say old tiers, but I mean they're still very modern in that they're still receiving tiering action. Like you said, we banned Glalie. And we have players who are still like developing the meta, which is very cool. And something that at least I felt like made it easier to get into those older gens is the tiers are a lot more centralized, right? You see a lower variety of mons, which makes it easier to prepare for while building, once you learn the tier. And I found that a nice break from the horrors of SV and being paranoid of Terra every turn. And I like berry spam, and obviously the thing that sticks out about ADV, at least to me, compared to modern gens, is no choice scarf, right? So speed tiers are a lot more fixed, and that's very interesting. But otherwise, and also no physical special split. That's another big one.
That's a big one. It's a huge one.
But yeah, the way I got into it was basically A, watching tournament games, right? B, I am like probably one of the few people that actually like scours the strategy decks and reads analyses to learn the tier.
Oh,
so
yeah.
when people say like, oh, people don't read that, I do. Okay, so keep it updated for me, please. I think it's an amazing learning resource, and I wish more people used it as much as I did, at least when learning a brand new tier. Anyway, that's a bit of a tangent, but so yeah, watching videos or watching replays, reading the decks, and then obviously practice beats everything. So just like the advice is always start off with a sample team and just get some games with it. I don't remember when my first ADV NU games were, but I mean the challenge with any old gen low tier is just finding people to play with. And I think I just mostly found my matches through the NU Discord, right? Just pinging for people or on the room. Oh, what's this? There's a Gen 2 NU tournament in Ruins of Alph. Oh, and I can't join it. Oh, the pain.
Okay. I mean, speaking of Gen 2, I mean, that's another old gen that you found a lot of success in recently, too. I think you played it in GSCPL, I believe. You played it in NUCL. In Ancient Lower Tier, ALTPL. Have you?
Yeah. So my initial tour, on a whim, I signed up for like the GSC Slam League. I decided, okay, Gen 2 is the next one I'm gonna learn, because I mean, relative to other gens, it seems fairly simple to learn, and it was, and that was fun. So I just said like, hey guys, thanks for letting me into this tour, and I might come back every now and then for my GSC fix. And boy, did I come back! Like you said, I did. Recently, I'm in ALTPL, ALTPL, Ancient Lower Tiers Premier League, and I'm currently 4-0, so it's going well. There was GSCPL, which I think I was like 4-3 or something like that. I know I went 5-3. I went positive, so that was good. Got a little bit of good Porygon luck. And then we got further back. What else was there? What all did you say? I forget.
I've only known you to play in like the ALTPL now, and you did a little bit for NUCL, and then I think also GSCPL. I think you were in that as well.
Yeah. Oh, I'm forgetting the other bit. Okay, yeah. So NUCL, right? I mostly flexed between Gen 2 and 3. Ended up playing a lot of GSC there. I think I went like 3-1. That was really good. And then the GSC NU Invitational was another big like breakout moment for me in the tier. Because I made it all the way to finals from losers bracket against Mr. Soup, and I reset it, so I won the first series 2-0, but then I lost the second series 1-2. So like I was so close, and I won 3 games in a row. I went boom, boom, reset the bracket, boom, third win. And that was just one win from victory, and then I lost the next two and lost the tour. But second place doesn't sting so bad when there was a $65 prize attached to it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I can officially say that I'm a professional player now.
Yep,
So that's fun.
Facts.
So
But
shout out to Jensendale for hosting that. That was a great tour.
and even for those of us who are not cash prize winning, professional Mons players, there is a lot to be gained from, even losing in those big moments. You gain a lot from your wins. You gain a lot more, I think, from your losses. So, I mean, I'm kind of just interested. What's kind of your mentality when approaching something like that, like a big game, a big set? How are you coming into a game like that? And maybe when the results maybe doesn't go so favorably your way, how do you keep yourself even locked in, bounce back, whether that's maybe a finals or maybe just a week that you really wanted to win and maybe a team tour or something? How do you keep yourself motivated even after something like that?
That's a good question. I don't know how I bounce back from losses. I mean, depending on the day, I'll either take it pretty hard or I just kind of won't feel it at all. Also depends how important the tour was to me, I guess.
Okay.
But people have asked me, how do you not feel so bad after an important loss? And the answer is that you can't. You just gonna feel like shit. But the thing is that you just gotta feel it, and it always passes with time, right? So, sure, take the hard loss, but don't dwell on it. Basically, you don't need to, experience that feeling over and over. You only need to feel the loss once, and then you just need to kind of just look forward, I suppose, is how I'd say.
Yeah, put it behind you, water under the bridge. Keep it.
Yep, exactly. I mean, every losses teach a lot more than victories. So the more you lose, the more opportunities you have to learn in kind of a funny twist. You can think of it that way.
Absolutely. I full-heartedly agree.
But
eventually,
on the other, on the other end of things, that's kind of what I do after a game if I lose. I mean, if I win, I just feel good. Not much. Just yay. I'm not sure if I play to win or just play to have fun. It's a little bit of both because winning is a lot more fun. But I think if I still was losing, I would still enjoy it mostly. So it's more about the whole process of preparing, and as long as I feel like I did my best, I don't really have much to feel bad about.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great mindset to have, and it can be tough for a lot of people, myself included, sometimes, especially for let's say you make it far in an invitation or an individual tour, or let's say you make it deep in a team tour. Those losses can sting, so it's good to hear about kind of how you approach those and how you bounce back, or maybe more appropriately, just keep it pushing, keep it moving after that. Yeah, no, that's great stuff.
Another, as far as pre-game prep, I just believe I'm a big believer in test games. Some people say they don't need test games, but just getting the reps in with the team can make some decisions when you get to the actual game a little more automatic. I mean, you don't want to be on full autopilot, but the less things you have to think about during the actual game, the more you can focus on your overall strategy and making sure you don't blunder, right?
Yeah,
so getting those reps, getting those test games is very beneficial to that, and I think really improves your confidence in yourself and your team, when the time actually comes. So
absolutely, and that has obviously worked out spades for you, because currently you find yourself in the middle of SPL, Smogon's Premier League.
I don't know. I'm just kind of here, man. And honestly, I lost last week to Kate. I mean, great player. I didn't even feel that bad about it, even though I was the one who you could say lost the week, because it was 4-6, right? Who needed me to win and the next person to win as well to tie up the week. But I ended up losing, and it was just kind of, it was a little bit of a bummer, but I mean, you can't let it keep you down.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need to go back and review that, but I don't know. I feel like I had already lost before the game began that week. I just wasn't super happy with my team that I brought, and that's really where the focus should be as far as me improving on my building and my prep and all the things that happened before the game. Because once you're in the game, whatever happens, right? If you make whatever mistakes, it's fine. You just do your best, but the stuff you can mostly control is how much prep you put into it. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about kind of your stint in SPL so far, and then kind of I guess just your official tournament history in general, because this is not the
sure.
first Smoke On official that you've been in, right? So
No, I mean my
talk me
big
through. Well, let's start with SPL. Let's start with
Okay.
SPL first of all. So what was it like? Because this is your first SPL, right? So what was it like,
Correct.
kind of in kind of the weeks leading up to the draft? Getting drafted, how has the experience been so far? Give us some insight.
Yeah, honestly, I think that it might do me more to talk about SCL first, because that's kind of the reason I got drafted for SPL, I would say.
All right. Well, we'll go to SCL. Talk to us about SCL. You can talk about your like obliteration in SVNU, yada yada yada.
So yeah, SCL rolls around, and I was drafted last year, but I didn't end up playing any games. I just kind of was a bench rider.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, kind of my fault, because if I wasn't the one playing, I wasn't contributing that much to prep. But because I wasn't contributing much to prep, they weren't really willing to let me play. So it was just kind of this catch-22 where it was like, oh, whatever. I was just kind of there for tests and the occasional input. But when this one rolled around, like I said, I had that win of seasonal under my belt, and then I'd have 2 decent LANU circuit finishes, and they were like, okay, so this engineer guy is legit. But people weren't really sure what to think of me. I mean, I got drafted and started, but when PRs came out, I was like right in the middle of the pack. There was like 4 people ranked really high, 4 people ranked really low, and then I was like smack dab in the middle. There was a lot of hype around me, I guess you could say, but also a lot of doubt. But at least in SVNU, I think I've cleared that doubt for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You ended that tour at what? 8-1.
I ended up going 8-1, yeah, which was the best record in the pool. But not the tournament, dude. My teammate went 9-0. Z, and I think he was playing doubles. The guy's crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, despite my stellar performance, we didn't even make playoffs. So I'm not mad, just disappointed.
Okay.
I'm just goofing.
Shots fired. All the shade. Shen wants all the smoke.
No, I can't be mad at anybody with a straight face.
So it's all a joke. It's all in jest.
Right.
All in jest.
I'll just say this: my retain odds don't look so bad for next year. So.
All right. Who was it? It was Shiloh and Gingy, right? Was that your?
Yes, it was Shiloh and Gingy.
Ah.
Speaking of, all right, now we can jump ahead. So speaking of Gingy, he was one of a few managers that I communicated with prior to SPL. So I was like, hey, you should draft me, because I just said, Mons is Mons. If I could do really good at one tier, I could do good at another, as long as I have good support and that kind of stuff. I'm a fast learner. And, those suckers, they believed me. So I ended up getting drafted.
Pulling a fast one on y'all.
Sucks for them, right? I mean, I don't really have great results thus far. I'm 1-2, which, I mean, hey, at least I won one. And like I said, I'm learning the tier as I go. So every week, I'm scaling. I'm getting stronger. And so, by the time playoffs comes around, maybe I'll be our tiebreak player, bro. You never know. But there's a lot of improvement to be done between now and then, even as the tour goes on. And it's kind of weird being in such a high-profile tour. And I don't know, it's not even like the tour that I feel most engaged in, because I don't know. I mean, there was more. I think it just has to do with my familiarity with SVOU, and just kind of like being a little bit lost and confused still. Whereas in like alt PL, it's like GSCNU at this point feels like home. I'm whooping the competition, having a great time. But the competition in SPL is really fierce. It's like hydrogen bomb versus coffee and baby, and big fish in a small pond versus small fish in a big pond. And now I'm the small fish, but I just gotta take that challenge in stride. And I think the key for me really is just gonna be to not load other people's builds. I feel like I always I feel like to play well with a team, I have to be the one. I have to have built it or be really involved in the process while building it, and like understanding how it's supposed to function. Like what I'm playing towards is a win condition, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the
And
same way. It's different when you're the chef. You know
I
what
definitely
you're
have a
doing.
specific flavor. At least when I build an NU, which doesn't translate exactly to OU, but I think I can get pretty close.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
without like deviating from the meta. Right now, I've just been kind of a meta slave, but that's okay. You know, I used to be the guy who used really wacky stuff, but over SCL, I don't know about mellowed out, but I've been deviating less from what is known to be good or what I know to be good, in favor of more solid and sound stuff.
absolutely. Hey, things are good for a reason. Meta becomes meta because it
Yes.
proves itself over extended periods of time to be consistent, be good.
And the mons that are good usually are good because they have good roll compression, right? They let you do a lot of things in one slot, and the more of those you use, the more that opens you up to use lesser used mons, right? That are a little more niche in their application. So, so I will use Great Tusk. I will use Petra Runt and Tinglu and all those friends of ours, for the sake of building and winning. Hopefully, we'll see how things go. There's still plenty of tour ahead of me.
You do join a kind of decorated pedigree as far as lower tier players who have maybe taken a step up in recent times to have a breakout in some SV success. I know Sinnoh confirmed it kind of falls within that category of player, historically known as the lower tiers player, transitioned to SV, and I think last year led the classiest on their team with the best record. LPZ, another guy who kind
of the new Hoenn. That's crazy.
Yeah, LPZ or LPZ. He's another guy, another congregation of the classiest pickup last year. Very cheap, historically known as a lower tier player.
Bro just wants to play Black White PU in peace, but he's got to play OU.
They throw him into SV OU, and look at that, he ended with like 6-5 records. So yeah, I mean, this isn't exactly new ground that you're treading. So yeah, I wouldn't get too hung up about, I might be struggling a little bit at the start, but it's the start for a reason. There's a lot more tour left, and I think I speak for myself, but I think I also speak for a lot of the NU community and kind of just the lower tier gang at large when we say we're pulling for you, man. And
Thanks,
we do.
Man.
Yeah, we're not. We're not
I definitely feel very supported by all my friends, like in the NU community and in the lower tier community.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people hyping me up, and that always brings a smile to my face. And I want to do better for me, but also for them. So keep sending me love, and I'll take that energy and convert that into some more effort and some more dubs.
Shout out to the gang. Speaking of which, let's talk a little bit more about that. So every person, every player, along their own Mons journey will find themselves within a lot of these kind of sub communities. NU has kind of been where you've established your roots, your home base. But even among those guys, who would you say are some of the more important people that you've met that have maybe influenced you throughout both your NU journey, and now as you've started to branch out into some of the maybe higher tiers or old gens, some of the people who have been maybe inspirations or just there for you as far as support goes? Yeah, talk to that.
I think by far the person who's been the most influential to me is definitely Rabia. I remember as a young new Mons player, I wanted to get into NU, and so I would watch Rabia's videos all the time. Back when he actually played the tier.
Shots fired!
But
that's coming for everybody in this interview.
And I remember when I first, had my breakout on some individual tours, and I had some games featured on his channel. Dude, I had the biggest smile on my face. I was showing my friends, look, dude, I got featured on this guy's YouTube. Only for that to progress into me actually starring in some of his videos, which is even cooler. Which I kind of take that for granted now, I think, because now we're friends basically. But he also kind of showed me the ropes of ADV NU a bit. Got me into those old gens. And he's the reason that I started making YouTube videos, just because we did a collaboration. He's like, "Hey, you want to record for you now?" I'm like, "I can have a YouTube channel," and that's how it all started, was with him. So that was awesome. A big thank you to Rabia. And he's a big part of why I really grew a lot through the NU community.
And look at that NU tier leader leading the people forward. That's crazy. Rabia doing his job. That's crazy.
I'm sure that when and if I make a return to YouTube, he'll be there if I ever want to record some NU. It's the only way to get him to play it, I guess. But but yeah, so that's just only one person. Who else we got here? As far as like people who have been there throughout my journey, Less Than 3 Man's another guy that comes to mind. We both started around the same time, and we just kind of like journeyed together in lockstep. We got room voiced, room driver, all the way. Now we're both room owners. Both working on the nut. The and your YouTube stuff, and then also co-hosting. This was mentioned way back near the start. Co-hosting a tour right now of like NU other metas. So it's like there's other metas you see on Smogon and Showdown, like almost any ability, camo mons, Twisted Dimension, stuff like that changes the rules of the game. We hosted a tour that features all those formats, but like restricted to NU Pokemon. And the reception to that's been really great. So much so that I think there might be future plans for a little team tour featuring those same kind of metas. So yeah, that might be in the works.
This is the first I'm hearing about that. That's hype. Yeah, you'd love to hear that.
This is not an official announcement. This is just a hey, we're thinking about that. And if y'all in the comments think that's a good idea, let us know. And what's your favorite other meta you'd like to see?
Chat sound off. Talk to us about how you feeling about the Goofy tour.
This is how you farm the algorithm, bro. You got to get that engagement down in the comments. You got to get people commenting, and just a little trick of the trade for you there.
Absolutely. Hey, YouTuber Shenterview, drop in that hot knowledge right now. You love to hear it. To hear it. But okay, yeah, we'd love to hear that answer. Shout out to Rabia for kind of being that guy to help Shenj get into the tier, and then Less Than 3 Men, that guy who's been lockstep with you, and yeah, kind of followed you along as throughout your NU authority journey. So that's cool. All right.
I guess two other smaller shout outs.
Okay, go for it. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to shout out Bernardo.
Bernardo, yes.
Absolute, I would say, pillar of the NU community at this point. Just a great presence on Discord and Smogon, and he's just so freaking hilarious. I just love Bernardo, and I love co-managing with him. He was an exceptionally great manager, I thought. Picking up the slack where I was really more focused on my playing for the first few tournaments. He was pretty much solo managing at some points, and I think he did a great job with it. And then also shoutouts to Lucas, who we picked up for last NUPO, yeah. And since he was just kind of our mysterious ladder hero who was always on top of the ladder, said, hey, let's give this kid a shot, and then he did really good, and good enough that I was like, hey, let's go manage. And he reminds me of an early version of myself in the fact that he's like, he says, I'm a one trick. I only play SVNU. That's my meta, and I want to be just good at that one thing. And that was me when I started, right? And I think that's, I mean, if that appeals to you, I think that's a good way to start your Mons career, is just dedicate yourself to a single tier, as long as there's enough people playing it. Because once you understand all the Mons and stuff, that's when you can really train your deeper like strategy and tactics, I'd say, like that transfer across tiers. Once like the Mons in set tier becomes second nature to you.
like you mentioned before, Mons is Mons, and
Yep.
there is differences. Generational mechanics do change, especially between some of the older gens and more modern gens. But it's you still got four moves. You can switch out. You can switch up moves. You got items, stuff like that.
Hmm.
So yeah, a lot of skill being transferable. I get it totally. Um, but yeah,
All right.
now you kind of mentioned too during that segment about kind of just the NU community and finding yourself in a place where you had the opportunity to be able to just kind of hone in on NU uh, and devote yourself to getting better at that tier. And obviously that transfers to other skills, other tiers later. But now I kind of want to get your thoughts on the state of the NU community right now.
Okay.
From the time you came in, you've seen a few years of growth at this point. Where do you kind of think the state of the tier is right now, as far as a maybe competitive standpoint, but also just like the community? What's it been like in the Discord, in the room, and all that good stuff? Yeah.
I'm not sure if I can say whether the community has grown or shrunk as a whole,
Okay.
but it's definitely just remained active the whole time. Especially the NU Discord, we get plenty of discussion in the Tours channel there. But we have seen just a lot of new faces lately. Some people who don't play as much kind of fade away, but just as fast as that's happening, we're getting influxes of new people, mostly from like the Showdown room, right? That's really key to bridge that gap from Showdown to the broader community as a whole, which is I feel mostly centered on Discord and the forums. So keep doing that, boys. And but the community's doing great, I think. I think leadership's on top of stuff. I think we got a good active council who's making relatively good decisions for the tier. And the tier itself, SVNU, is in a good spot, I would say. It is a little, I guess from a meta standpoint, Lucas kind of hit the nail on the head where he says there's no individual Pokemon that's broken enough to warrant a ban, but it also feels like the combination of threats, especially with like special breakers like Toxtricity, Chandler, Meloetta, maybe even you could count Gudra, I guess. Like the combination of all these, you're not going to see them all on the same team, but it's hard. You stretch yourself kind of thin trying to check all of them at the same time. But I think ultimately it's fine. Plus, we just got Chansey, so like I feel like it's going to be easier to check some of those threats, especially Toxtricity.
Yeah, finally, right? Blissey dropped to RU like months ago, and only in the most recent side of shit. Hey, that's our bad.
It took them long enough. Hey,
I will
you guys got Fortress too while you're at it? That'd be great.
Listen, that's you can take that up with Ladder.
Okay,
I'm stepping away from that one. But yeah,
I got bad news though. Blissey was projected to rise to UU, so
I didn't see that.
In 5 months or so, Chansey may be leaving NU once again. I hope she enjoyed her stay.
I don't. I'm actually a little bit interested. So, the topic of lower tiering, as you might know, as people who are watching this video, as you might or might not know, kind of the way Pokemon Showdown operates in general is based off a usage-based tiering list. It's pretty simple. If Mons get used enough in a higher tier, I think the cutoff is like 4.5%, something like that, then they rise to the higher tier that they're getting used in. But we've kind of seen some background chatter last year, kind of coming into this year now, about that system, whether it should stay the same, if there's something that can be done to change it. I don't know how plugged in you've been with that Shenge, but do you have any thoughts about kind of usage-based tiering and the shift system that we have going right now?
I'm just gonna say that Braviary rising to NU when it has no place in the tier is a little bit disheartening.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with usage-based tiering, and I know it's kind of been the foundation that all of Smogon tiering has been built upon.
Mm-hmm.
But the amount of influence that a player can have, especially on a less active tier like Never Used, can be problematic at times. You know, in previous gens, we've seen it hit one top, rise up because of, once again, Uberfiend, who's also the reason that the Braviary rose to NU.
You know, shout out to Uberfiend, single-handedly stealing
And
bombs from other tiers.
while that doesn't affect really what mons you can use in NU, it does have repercussions on tiers below us, which I am very aware of, because I mean, same happens between NU and RU and UU and all the tiers above us. You know, over a year ago, we had like a massive shift that dropped like Talonflame, Slowbro, Crocodile, Mienshao, like all these super powerful Pokemon into NU. And we're basically playing modern day RU in NU like a year ago.
Yeah.
And just to have those all rise another like 3 to 6 months later, it's kind of like, well, what was the point? You know, that meta doesn't exist anymore. We're not seeing any more development. And while tier shifts do keep things interesting, you know, with the shifting meta, if there's no like cohesive sense of identity in a tier over time, then it's kind of like, I don't know, it feels a little more arbitrary.
Absolutely.
So I don't, yeah. In an ideal world, we could keep usage-based tiering. There's also the problem of bots, which haven't been a huge problem usually, but there was that one incident in OU where a ladder bot was using like a triple weather team, right? And it kept, I think it rose Tyranitar to OU, and possibly it was going to rise Excadrill, which obviously has massive implications for UU. And you know, if T-Tar leaves UU, then you know, maybe Hippowdon rises up or something. I don't know.
Which is, by the way,
I know it's like just one shift of one Pokemon, like up to OU, has these ripple effects that sometimes take like multiple shifts to actually reach the tiers below. But I don't know. I just feel like there's been very little sense of stability, partially due to. And like sometimes it corrects itself. Like maybe Braviary will drop back down. I say hopefully, or Hippowdon will return to RU. You know, but if there's some way to, I think they are working on a technical solution to filter out bots. I think, which is a good step. If banning them isn't possible, which like ladder bots, I don't think they're inherently a bad thing. They're only bad if they're like changing the usage, like I said, like if they're the ones determining what Pokemon end up in tiers, that's a major problem, right?
Yeah.
But I think running into a bot on ladder every so often, it's not the worst thing in the world. Especially if there's not a lot of other ladder activity. You at least get something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, like you said, when it's starting to like change, I'm in a similar boat as you, in a similar mindset as someone who engages mostly with RU. I mean, we still feel the impacts of those shifts. Like you mentioned, Tyranitar getting raised. Well, okay, if you want to play UU now, you kind of have to use Hippowdon, who in the most recent set of shifts also got raised. Now we're hearing things about, oh, Blissey might get raised, or Talonflame might get raised, and all of that, especially as we kind of come to the end days of Gen 9, can be disastrous when it comes to long-term implications for a tier's future when maybe we're not a current in it.
I almost feel like going forward, I feel like maybe tiering shouldn't freeze, right? You know, when the next gen comes out. I think there is potential to adopt a system like ye old gens have.
VR based?
Somewhat VR based, yes. But mostly just for the sake of like, okay, this Pokemon has no place here. Let's all agree to drop it. Like if something is unranked on the VR but still in the tier, I think it's okay for you to forcefully drop that mon. Like even if its usage is high, especially if it's like closer to the borderline. Like Fortress, like 12%. Okay, I guess you can keep 4 even if it sucks. But like, if Braviary ends the tier in NU, but it's like it's close to the cutoff, and everyone agrees it's unviable. I don't see a reason why, you know, this council of really experienced players who all want the best for the tier can't make that decision to drop them on. So I hope that the tiers don't get frozen in some unideal state. And yeah, I just hope that we have the chance to maybe iron out and correct some of the flaws that might result from this tiering system. But
Absolutely.
overall, I think it's fine to stick with it. I mean, it's served us decently well thus far.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, like I mentioned before, Gen 9 is in its closing days. Who knows what Gen 10 might have ahead of us? Yeah, we can only hope. We can only hope. But kind of with that too, I think we are kind of heading into the closing parts of this interview as well. Shen, is there anything else kind of that you want to add onto the end here that maybe we didn't get to touch upon, or yeah, any closing thoughts?
I will say, Mons has kind of become the main thing going on in my life in the past couple of years, which seems a little bit sad, but also like it's really nice that I've been able to find this community here, and I feel like respected and valued and all those good words. It's just been a really positive experience to be part of something and feel like I'm contributing to it. I've been getting job interviews recently, and the engineer employment arc is beginning sooner rather than later. So I'm curious if I'll be able. I definitely won't be able to maintain the same level of activity, but I mean, time will tell to see how much I'll stay engaged. But I mean, regardless, it's been a good run, and I'm not retiring or anything yet, but I will likely have to scale some things back because the unemployment arc will end sooner. So, but yeah, it's been a good ride.
IRL comes for us all. IRL comes for us all.
And I hear from my boy Lucas, he's taking a Mons break right now, and he says it's great. He's like, you should really take a break, and I'm like, yeah, but there's so many like cool tours that I wanted to do, and it sucks that like I can't do them all, and you gotta pick your priorities both in life and on Smogon, like the tiers that you want to spend your time in. Some people are happy just playing in like a billion tours at once, but I really do want to, like, whatever thing I'm playing, I want to give it my all, and I'm unable to give it my all when there's just an overwhelming amount of stuff. So, and yeah, having to balance that with the job. We'll see where that takes me.
Quality over quantity, and wise words coming from our interviewee engineer as we close this one out. Chenj, thank you for one more time taking the time out of your day to sit down, talk to us for like better than an hour. We're getting up there as far as the interview time goes, but yeah, thank you again for taking this time, giving us some insight about your Mons journey, some of the things that have kind of brought you to where you are, and kind of where you see things proceeding in the future. Yeah, very appreciated. Very appreciated.
I appreciate being here, and I hope that everyone who's listening hopefully got something out of this. It's pretty good for me. I hope it was good for y'all.
Yeah, love to hear that. And with that, it is time for us to shove off. Everyone, if you made it this far, thank you so much. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that great stuff if you haven't. The nut will go on. Never stop. All right. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
Peace out.